They're not no longer functioning within this southeastern state, even part of the country, not only within the southeastern state, because the governors have made themselves an emperor. They don't want anything to work. Everything has to do on their table. The local government chairman does not even have, sometimes they don't even go to office. They don't even know how the local government office is. They go there once in a while because they have no functions. They are not autonomy. Okay, the president have also issued an order that the allocation should go straight to the local government. I could remember 1999, 2003, 2007. Local government chairmen were like independent. They were reaching out to the people because they are the closest to the people. Okay, you have such meeting in Enugu. No local government chairman was in the attendant. Who are the people? Who know the people? Some of the traditional rulers, the key traditional rulers who know the community. These are not people coming from Sky Blue. They are people from various families. People know them. So for you to be able to connect to this, to solve the problem, you must engage the people. The people must be seen to be a part and parcel of the process of solving the problem. You don't solve your problem in your house and impose it to somebody in the house. Engage people. Constructive engagement will bring a constructive resolution. If you don't engage the people, there's no way you're going to have a peaceful resolution.
Yes, I know, but what is your strategic... Exactly. What is the Ohaneze Ndigbo strategic planning to resolve what is happening?
Our strategic planning is in coming days, although you heard what happened in Kano, we in Kano will have different factions that disagree within themselves. Last 2 weeks I was in Kano and bring them under umbrella. In the southeast, we're beginning to talk to the youth leaders. In Abia State, in Anambra State is almost the theater of the war, because that is where election is just less than a month, or within a month, election is upcoming. And these people have told you, do not campaign. Nobody is campaigning in Anambra State. No political party have their sticker in their vehicle. If you have your sticker, or PDP or APC, Abuja, it will be burned down. They told you no election, and nobody is doing anything. So what we are doing is to begin to sensitize our people, because we know that the problem is information. Information management is key. These people are being fed with bad information, wrong information. So they're acting based on the wrong information. And for us to deal with the issue and get to the root of the problem, we must begin to, like what Ohaneze Ndigbo is doing, is to sensitize the people, engage our youth, meet them with various different groups, which we have started. And gradually, in the next 1 or 2, 3 weeks, you will begin to see the result. You don't stay in Abuja and pass a resolution or invite the military to come. It's not military approach. Okay, let's look at what happened in Kogi State here. We all remember what happened there in terms of security. What the governor did was bottom-up approach. Mm-hmm. Before, you can't drive from here to Okene. Okay. You'll be kidnapped. But the governor took proactive action by making the local government, local government chairman, the chief executive officer of your local government, making the traditional ruler of your community as a chief security officer of your community, empowering and addition out more fund for the local government to be able to secure the locality. If anything happens to your local government, I hold you accountable. And it works. That is why you see relative peace in Benue State today. I give it to kudos to that governor, Yahya Bello, because he did.
Kogi, not
Kogi. Bello, yeah, Kogi. That's what I'm saying. Sorry, Kogi. You see what happened to Kogi State? You can't look before. Kogi is having almost 10 state boundaries. That means it's a very complex state. You have more than 10 to 11 states sharing common boundary. So, but you were able to manage to be able to restore relative peace in Kogi State today. In Anambra State, the governor, I'm very surprised that even the governor, whom he has his born, is not even in the meeting with what information we had yesterday. He didn't attend the meeting. And your Anambra is the worst hit by this insecurity. And the meeting of such magnitude is called, and you are not there. So it shows that you are not even serious, or you don't know what you're doing, or maybe you've lost control of your government. If you cannot take action to term insecurity within your state, it shows the incompetence of your
Well, Ambassador Chiemelo, let's also point out that the Anambra State governor or his representative is not part of this conversation. So is not therefore available to immediately respond to the issue that we have raised. But we do know that there were reports when the governor said that at some point they were going to frustrate the sit-at-home orders that were issued. But after that, more violence was unleashed in the states. And why that is happening is what we are discussing. Paul Gwaza, one issue here, two issues actually. The governors, when they met yesterday, said that those who were issuing the sit-at-home orders were not necessarily residents in the Southeast. They described them as persons who are in the diaspora and that they were not in touch with the reality back home. It's curious that people in the diaspora will be issuing directives and then the directives will be obeyed. And those who are in situ and therefore in charge would say, look, disobey the orders, but nobody would respond to them. That's one. Why do we appear to have that situation? Against the background also of what has been reported, and I have not read any rebuttal just yet, Senator Einaya Baribe was quoted as saying, I think yesterday, that it is not only IPOB that is a separatist group in the Southeast, that there are some 15, several, we know of Maso, but there are several other separatist groups operating in the Southeast. Does this provide an indication of the magnitude of the problem that we are dealing with?
Yeah, so the point of entry for these concerns is to look at the space that we have over the years created for ourselves. And I think that it boils down to us looking at governance, whether government is about certain categories of people or it is about the broader Nigerians. And I think that that is where the issue is. Now, if you look at, in terms of disconnect and the processes for emergence of leadership, whether it is, especially in the Southeast, where the people are not only enterprising, but these are people that are independent-minded also. Now, so if you look at within that social formation, you know that you will naturally have such a situation where you determine who gives the order. Recently, we're having a conversation, and the issue is that across the world, the state is confronted with a very serious issue of managing. It's not about Nigeria or Southeast issue. It's across the world that the man, the citizen of a state, want to determine his own destiny by himself. The social media inform his own perspective and his own authority and determine how he plays allegiance. In fact, even our children will now tell you what they feel is the right thing to do. They feel that they have allegiance to their own friends. Your own perspective is not what you want to impose on them. And so for our leaders, I think we need to know what is the situation on ground and to know that the citizens you are ruling are no longer the citizens of yesteryears who are governed by somebody will come and dish out order and they then obey hook, line, and sinker. These are Nigerians of modern days, and they look at what is happening globally. And I think recently we are discussing about what happened in Afghanistan and whether it is possible here is because, again, it's the nature of authority. These people, and as Chief rightly noted, the processes for emergence of leaders is always a concern for every Nigerian. And so if leaders emerge and they don't emerge in a legitimate way, and they give out instruction, the natural concomitant is that people will not obey such orders. But then you look at the economic dynamic of the country, broadly speaking. It is he that gives out, take responsibility for your day-to-day survival, that you naturally obey. If the diaspora, if you look at, even if you go to the Ministry of Finance, you look at the turnover from the diaspora. Some of it is not entering their banks. They are sending money to these people to respond to their own concern. Nigerians are calling their brothers abroad to please help me. I've not eaten today. I need to pay my children's school fee. I need to pay rent. Now, if this person tell you not to go out today, then you will naturally won't go out because he is the one taking care of your school fees, paying for your rent, paying for everything. So I think our government, both at the local government, at the state level, need to know that for us to be able to fully obey, they must show some level of, they must own up to their own responsibility. There is a whole lot of gap. Not about us paying tax, it's about them also doing their own part of the roads are collapsing. Utilities are no longer tenable in terms of water, in terms of electricity. In fact, we don't even know what is happening with our gutters. Every gutter is just blocked all over. Houses are collapsing even in the southeast because of erosion, and nobody is talking about it. Diseases are all over. People are dying of diseases like cholera, which has to do with poverty, actually. And so if somebody is sending money from Canada, you will definitely obey him. That is one interesting thing there. Then the second arm of your question.
We don't know whether the money is coming from Canada. It's not.
No, it's just an example. Just for instance, if somebody is sitting in Canada and sends the money. Yeah, so somebody out there will definitely send the money, and then you will naturally want to listen to him. Now, the second arm of your question, in terms of the proliferation of non-state actors that are, for instance, that are actually in charge of the space, not only in the southeast, but all over the country. These actors are all over. Everybody is in charge. I think yesterday we were even talking about who is in control of the garage in Lagos. Yeah, so the person, you don't think that the Oba of Lagos is in charge. There is somebody who sits there and determine what happens there. Recently, even in Zamfara State, we know that non-state actors are saying, pay tax to us. Give us this tax. So it's also happening in Southeast that there are proliferation of people taking authority, determining what is happening in their own spaces, controlling who give them money, determining who will enter that street, determining a lot of things. IPOP is just the face that we see. But if you do an analysis, and we have done the research, we have discovered that there are a lot of non-state actors in charge of this thing. You know also that we no longer hear about armed robbers. We no longer hear about these things because why? The broader banditry has actually taken over. There is a joke in the social media are you just committing armed robbery? Or I better fall in the hands of armed robbers than to fall in the hands of bandits. So if there is a broader problem, the other ones fizzle out. I think the other, what Senator is talking about is that there are people in charge of, touts in charge of garages, touts in charge of streets, touts in charge of communities, and the exact authority determine who enter the community and who pays what to whom and at what time. And I think it's a very serious problem that is at hand. But again, it's for Nigeria as a country to begin to work on how to get back its citizens. We must work on getting back our citizens. And the best way is to ensure that this government is working. Provision of amenities, being concerned about the problem of our people is very critical for us to get back Nigerians.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gwaza. Let me take the question to Great Imo. Great, earlier on, you described those perpetrating the violence in the Southeast as unemployed youths, youths who do not have, any solid means of livelihood. I've also heard people, describe those who commit those crimes as unknown, gunmen. People also say most of them are not Igbos because the Igbos place a lot of, importance on the sanctity of life and property. So such killings, gore sense are not, cannot be identified, with the Igbos. So my question is, do you think these are purely politically manipulated, politically motivated, scenes or incident? Do you think there is a fifth columnist, as Mr. Gwaza has also indicated that there are, non-state actors also, in the southeast?
Well, these possibilities exist, starting with the fact that once the governor of Imo State, Governor Hope Uzodinma, once said on national television after the deadly attack on the prison facility and the police headquarters in Imo State, that about 400 of those who were arrested, some of them were not Igbo. And that also is a dimension to it, because we also remember that we're having a conflict somewhere very proximal to the southeast, which is Ambazone, and a lot of arms and interaction is going on between those areas. That is one. Number two, also, knowing the nature of politics in the southeast, the fearsome nature of politics in the southeast, a lot of young people who were armed to fight for power on behalf of the political leaders, some of them, after the elections, they were abandoned on the street. Yes, it is not natural for an Igbo man to engage in violence, because Igbo man likes to work hard, enjoy hard. But we found out that it was long in coming. Some of these Igbo young chaps who are involved had actually been made into monsters. I mentioned yesterday the parental, poor parenting or failure of parenting in the southeast. A lot of young people, we know those days growing up, the way our parents will query every of your movement, your activities, what you do. I'm surprised that we're beginning to have parents who don't care, literally. And then secondly, when these children are abandoned on the street, there are these elements, minor elements, who begin to recruit them and engage them. Some of them are now into drugs. You go to villages, a lot of young people just smoke their life away. And some of those are driven by fear of unknown. Nobody's guiding them. Nobody's encouraging them. And then they become recruited into political thuggery. And then after the election, you abandon them. During the election, you are giving them some stipends with guns they have with them. And also, you look at also another issue you must take note of. In the last few years, there has been increase in cultism activities in the southeast. Increase in the cultism activities in the southeast. Some of the issues that are driving the involvement of young people in cultism is that they were forming those associations as a means for protecting themselves, as a measure, to go between. Some of them believe that when you join these cult groups, you are protected whether you're on campus or off campus, because then we used to think it was only in the universities. Now there's cultism in communities in the southeast. Sometimes the violent crises you see are also cult violence, where one group that wants to dominate the space begin to fight the other group. And depending on who has more weapons and sometimes retaliatory factors, and these politicians know these people. Sometimes they recruit them individually. Say, okay, I can pay this group to work with me because they have arms. In some other cases, they get them arms to fight each other. All of this is geared towards power engagement. And the more you do this, and without hope, as many more young people are without job, they are tempted to join thinking there is something in it. So once this continues, the nature of Igbo man is being altered. Seriously, it's being altered. And now, let me repeat again. The failure of leaders to understand that these things are happening, why they are focusing on material acquisition, acquiring more wealth, to want to impose themselves on their environment, they have lost sight of these things. They have no plans. Okay, look at, you're talking about Ibubago. This will be the third time an official statement is made by the entire Southeastern governors, the group. They have said before, we are setting up Ibubago, and it appeared nothing happened. After there was an incident in Owerri, they came back again and said, oh, we are going to make it happen. Then afterwards, nothing happened. Now they are coming back to say that. Does it not tell you something? These people have been unserious-minded about solving the problem of the people. They have been unserious-minded about having economic blueprint, a blueprint that will save the future of the state, of the environment, where they live. It is about their own selfish interest. They've not spent time trying to understand these people. They are much focused on hijacking power, getting the material benefit, the power, the accolades that come from it, and nothing more. And like when Mr. Gwazo was talking, understanding the psychology of the people you are dealing with will help you. Igbos are Republicans. Igbos, in all of their generation, Igbos have refused to bow to anybody. Igbos' way of doing things has been through consultation. From Umuna to the kindred to the community, decisions are made based on shared interest, shared value. You must discuss, and they must challenge you and arrive at
What has
solutions.
ruptured that now? What has ruptured that and therefore created the kind of challenges we are confronted with today?
Okay.
That issue of consultation.
Yes. What happened is that, don't forget that after a while, we had the long years of military rule. And the Nigerian state was run through sustained coercive instruments, and it percolated down. So the generation of leaders who came to power by 1999 were stooges of most of those military people. And they did not understand that in a democracy, consultation is part of the key. If you remember, during the lives of Michael Okpara, even Mbakwe, immediately after the war, within a period of 4 years, transformed the old Imo states beyond everybody's imagination. After the whole entire space was raised down, what happened? There were involvement, engagement. But these 30 years of military rule began to alter the minds of people. That is a whole generation. A whole generation. And when these people came, especially this generation of Igbo leaders who happened on the Southeast, because a lot of intellectuals in the Southeast didn't think that the military were going, including those who worked with Nadeko to fight the military occupation of Nigeria. They didn't take it seriously. So we had actually almost the worst of us taking over power, because there were guys running errands for military people. And they believed that their masters would help them. And that was how they hijacked power. And because their own this mental development to a great extent does not, and all that. So what did they do? After they left power, they kept fostering their kind. And now, the more democracy matures, the more people are beginning to realize that we thought this thing was a joke, but it's beginning to become a culture, and it can't work here. Because there is that instinct of an Igbo man to resist oppression, to resist imposition, and without understanding this, even when I was telling someone, when you go to Southeast, you find out that when you deploy military and police, what you see is a gamut of roadblocks and use of harsh languages on the people. Sometimes when you are talking to them, you're talking to them like an occupying force. So you don't get their buy-in. Even when the military is there, they may have information to give you, but because they feel that you are just imposing yourself on them, you are just dealing with them as if they don't matter. It is actually these natural reactions that make the federal government or the military authority or the security agents not to get the buy-in of the people. Southeast is not that massive. If a ragtag group can go into Newi, a very busy space that's literally drive in and drive out, and constitute that havoc and working without people say, oh, this is where they went to. Something is wrong. You are not working with the people.
Great, Timo. Well, I mean, it's like saying what you have said is great. Well, that's your name, actually. Thanks a lot for your perspective, and gentlemen.
Thank you.
We're providing, I hope our viewers are also getting the illumination that our three guests are further providing today. We're going to take a short break now. When we return, of course, we continue with the conversation.
chief resident engineer and project supervisor of the second Niger Bridge project. The second Niger Bridge project is a project that has been conceived for a very long time, but it has finally come to life during this present administration. This project has a lot of socio-economic benefits, and it has impacted positively on the lives of the host communities, both in Anambra State and Delta State. The people are very happy. The host communities, they partnered with us because apart from the social benefits, indigenes are also employed on this project. We can see how their lives are being improved.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Iheanacho near post and scores.
The Super Eagles of Nigeria will look to continue their excellent start to the World Cup qualifiers when they take on Lefauve of Central African Republic. Will Lefauve pull off a shock on the home soil of the Super Eagles? It's Nigeria versus Central African Republic at the Tesla Balogun Stadium in Lagos, Nigeria on the 7th of October, showing on the network service of the NTA and AIT from 4:30 p.m. with live radio broadcast on Cool FM, Wazobia FM and Nigeria Info. You can also join online at sporty.com and NPFL TV. The FIFA World Cup qualifiers are proudly brought to you by BetNiger and supported by MTN, Coca-Cola and Dettol, proud sponsors of the Super Eagles.
All right, we've been having conversation even while the commercials were playing, and it's been a very intense conversation we're having, really. And that's why I like to, again, appreciate all the guests. But I'm taking my question to great Imo Jonathan. Great, we were speaking off camera, and I asked you why it appeared that Imo State is the center of all the crisis. Why do you think that is so? What is it about, especially that junction? There's a junction called Ayara Junction where most of the incidents, are said to have happened. What is it about Imo State that is making it, the center of war?
Well, it will appear that the trigger for Imo State was actually politics. And let's be sincere here. The way and manner the governor emerged, the governor of Imo State, a whole lot of political stakeholders were not happy about it. But I expected that having access power by any means, there should be stakeholder engagement. You need to relate with your people. But at the time, he felt that the governor was literally uncomfortable in his space as a governor, and maybe he needed to impose himself seriously. And this is one thing I want to say, if the governor is listening to me. The singular act of inviting the military to Olun actually made the people of Imo State angry with the governor. If people are not telling him that, let's say it on national television, even the federal government needs to know that. As of that time, I didn't think there was any need to have engaged the military, and not even to the extent of bombing a space in the southeast. Mind you, Igbo people went through 3 years of horrendous war. The appearance of violence in their space would definitely make them jittery and angry at you, and whoever that initiated it is actually going to be seen as enemy number one. So even, let me say, Rochas governed that state for 8 years. And you may not judge him. I'm not going to judge his other performances, whether he did well in terms of road and all that. But Rochas was able to hold the peace of Imo State for 8 years. Not forgetting that before Rochas, under Achiku Denwa, there was a military involvement in Imo State between 2003 and 2006. A lot of young people died when you were dealing with Massel. Then Rochas came and was able to manage the peace of the Southeast. And if I don't like it when people go on ego trip. If you know you can handle an aspect of your governance, you can call people who have experience in doing that and rapport with them. That is why we talk about consensus building when it comes to governance in the Southeast. You can't do it alone. And now, when these things have happened over time, even when you are supposed to take the breath away from these violent actors, you couldn't do it because you have created more sympathy for them. When people felt that their children went to market and were gone down, and innocent youth died out of in the trajectory, and they are not going to feel happy about it. They are not going to give you information. They are not going to sympathize with you. They are going to allow you deal with it. As I'm talking to you right now, sincerely,
Yes.
FMC Owerri, there are dead bodies of young people there that have not been buried. Nobody knows who they are. People are afraid to speak. Don't have the people you can who will be afraid to talk to you. Don't lead the people when the people feel that you are their enemy. It's not to say that we should encourage violence. No.
You know, great, Timo.
Yes.
Thanks a lot for your perspective. Again, we are pressed for time, but
Yes.
this is a very important issue. I would like Ambassador Chiemelu to respond to two issues that are on the table. Paul Gwaza did say that part of what is required is to win back the citizens. And when Great Imo was speaking, you were nodding in agreement that part of the Igbo spirit is consultation. And my colleague Claire was also in agreement by nodding to say that you have a bottom-up approach. I read some of those things in Chinua Achebe's books, even though they said it was fiction. But in the reality is you see consultation from one category of, from one age group or one group to the other. So my question, therefore, is as follows. As part of the measures, whether short-term, medium-term, or long-term, what can immediately be activated? Is it the consultation mechanism? How do you also ensure that the kinetic approach, because you have a lot of guns, there's lawlessness in the place, how do you ensure that the kinetic approach doesn't become counterproductive, you get the people's buy-in?
Thank you very much. Just like I said earlier here, that our problems are local. The issue of security has to be done with local consultation. If you bring in military, like the way they launched military operation 2 days ago in the southeast, they don't know the area, the locality where these bad people are. They can easily hurt innocent people. They don't know them. It happened previously when innocent people were killed. Because if they see any young man on the street, they can easily open fire. But the real people are not known. So for that, having said so, we need to deal with this issue through consultation. Consultation is about talking to the local government chairman, empowering them, making them to assert power within their locality. Then through the local government chairman, the traditional rulers, we've not given our traditional rulers a very robust role to play. But these are people who are very close to the community. If something happens in the community now, they will knock and cry or they will run to the traditional ruler. Traditional ruler knows almost every problem of his various communities. So if this bottom-up approach is being utilized, within weeks or months, on the 1 month, the next 1 month, you will see that the tension will be doused. The problem will begin to solve itself naturally because the real people have not been properly engaged to be able to deal with the issue. If there is serious disconnect between even the state government and the local government to the community. You have wars. During electioneering, they will begin to empower youth leaders, ward leaders, ward ESCOs and all that. After election, they will leave them. And these people will be roaming on the street. There will not be no engagement. Have you ever had any of the governors calling for workshop? Previously, in 1999 to 2003 to 2007, I think you see some governors sometimes, they'll call youth seminars. You engage the youth, the men and women of the community state will come together in one umbrella, discuss with them, give them, tell them the policies of the government. Let them be part and parcel of your policy-making governance. Make them to know that they are part of the decision-making in your governance. Engage them. Let them be part of your governance. Talk to them. But they are not talking to any of them. They have passed legislation in the Enugu yesterday, and they have come back home. Watch and see in the next 1 week, you see if there's any implementation that will be done. You won't see any implementation. They have done this over time. Abuja, just like Great Imo I mentioned, this is the third time they are mentioning Abuja, and they have not even seen the president anywhere in the southeast.
Okay.
Well, they say
That's a-
Bubago, they have given themselves a December 31st deadline for this year to be sure that they can activate the Bubago.
That is what they said. Let's watch and see the implementation because months ago it was launched in Owerri. They had their meeting.
And we must be careful. The way and manner they are going about the Bubago is looking like you setting up your army to fight your people. Because the Bubago have not succeeded simply because he has not gotten the buy-in of the people. So you sit in Enugu, you've mentioned it the first time, those few political rascals and touts who have worked with the governors were selected and you formed it as a Bubago. Where are the youths? You should, the structure of his involvement, of his existence, what do they look like? Why don't you make it a career base where it is not in the absolute control of the governor, where it could be domiciled in the Ministry of Home Affairs or something like that. So when people get into a Bubago, they are getting into a career engagement where they can even grow in rank and they earn salaries month and also have a fate of ending up as a career civil servant. You know, the uniform, the way and manner of engagement. All of these things are not taken into cognizance. You just engage your political touts and you put them in a group, you call them a Bubago. You still will not get solution. Rather, it will end up being a machinery or a team set up to fight those who don't like what the governor is saying. Make a Bubago people owned. That is the solution.
All right,
Yes, thank you very much. You see, the Bubago thing, just like we are discussing on the background, a Bubago thing maybe it seems like what Getty was saying. Let it not turn out like Bakassi, because I could remember in those days when Bakassi was formed. Initially, they were doing well, but as you know, the delay using that of their positions to attack innocent people, settling family matter. You see husband and wife quarrel, somebody will go to Bakassi and call Bakassi. They will bring a family man and lie it and flog the person and they will beat up the person. So I don't understand. There have to be a clear-cut operate of the way they want to run their Bubago, because they've not even given the full details of how they want to manage it and how they want to fund it. First and foremost, if you want to set up a company or you want to set up a business, you have to do the feasibility studies. You have to analyze the cost of setting it up and the cost of managing it and the cost of running it before you begin to think of making profit. Have they been able to work out the modalities on how the recruitment processes? It matters a lot. The recruitment processes matters a lot. You don't just proclaim a Bubago, a security outfit, without having a framework of how are the criteria for you to be able to recruit those people you want to use.
Those people you're giving them. I'm sorry to interject. That will be founded in law. Because elsewhere where they have set this up, say Amotekun, for instance, is derived from law. So the law will set up the structure and so on and so forth and administrative issues. Let's very quickly, Gwaza. I just wanted Gwaza. You know, part of what we know about the Igbos, for instance, part of their anthropology, outside of Igbo land, is it on Sundays or which days of the week where they hold their town unions meeting? They don't play with it, which is part of the consultation that you see them make. You know, and the women also have theirs. I don't know whether it's Umuna they call it, but when they are having ceremonies, you see them in. Sorry, this is Ashwebi is Yoruba. You see them, and so how might these anthropological features be harnessed in this time of crisis? One, the issue of consultation, and then the point you raised about winning back the citizens. And then the caution that we have heard now that, look, if you don't have the buy-in of the citizens, taking all the cruise missiles in that place, you are not likely to succeed.
Actually, I'm not a fan of people that said we need to give traditional rulers constitutional or any statutory backing for them to operate. What I know from my study is that at times the legitimacy and the acceptability of a leader weigh large or larger than even the one that is recognized by the law or even given some stamp of the law. And so I believe that these traditional rulers and indeed some of the non-formal or informal institutions that we have across can actually play a critical role in ensuring that we are able to win back our citizens, both not only in the Southeast but across the country. And I think we need to do that. But again, it is for our political leaders to begin to recognize these structures and these networks, and to be able to maybe incentivize them to ensure that they play those critical roles, not necessarily creating any legal framework for them to operate, but in the structure of governance, broadly speaking, you ensure that you activate these structures so that they will be able to work. And I think that just like Ambassador had rightly alluded to, this bottom-up approach, we must ensure that our community structures for consultations are activated. We need to activate it deliberately, and I think the Ohanaeze has a critical role to play in this regard. When we do that, we are sapping these non-state violent actors of their own resources in terms of the manpower, in terms of their ability to begin to recruit people to confront the state. So state can do that in withdrawing the people, sapping the people and sapping the energy, so that then they won't be able to unleash violence on the community. I think that is what you have identified is critical for ensuring peace in the region. Thank you.
Adding to what you have said, but it acts as a result of the Igbos community meetings. Actually, that consultation is still going on. If you come to anywhere, all over the country, if not just in the country, even in the United States, even in Canada, you will see Igbo meetings. They do that meeting once in a month. Maybe some take their own last Sunday of the month, some take second Sunday of the month, and so on. It trickled down to even the community. After having a village, a town meeting, they still have village meeting. After having the village meeting, they still have kindred meeting. Even from the community to the state, even those who are, even in Abuja here, some villages in the southeast have bought land, built their own hall. My village have just secured a hall. We are launching by this month, a few weeks to come. We are launching our hall.
Yeah, so you launch it, and then we get great ideas from those meetings.
What comes out of those meetings are actually not being used by the state governors.
That is
going forward. I would suggest.
Sorry, great. Just give us what you think measure we can activate in the immediate. In just 30 seconds.
The immediate.
Yes.
Since the governors of the Southeast are lost that sight of that immediate thing that needs to be done, I think federal government need to convoke in what they call Southeast Youth Conference. Involve party leaders, youth leaders, community leaders, religious leaders. Bring from the market unions at a youth conference. Have joy. Discuss with them. You don't need to, there's no ego about it. If the governors can't do it, you should do it, because when you can have a framework that have a way of getting representative that is fair enough, and the information you will share and the solution will be taken back to the communities. Since these governors are not doing it, federal government should do it. The Minister for Youth Affairs should don't say it's an APC thing. I've got youth leaders from local government, from APC, from PDP, then from markets, from these to keke drivers. Make them be representatives of the people and have a conference, and they will tell you more. You will be amazed. And God will bless Nigeria.
All right, great, Imo Jonathan from Abia State, very vibrant public relations and media consultant. I'd like to appreciate you sincerely for your contributions. Ambassador Obizoba Chiemelo, Director General, Strategic Planning and Implementation, Ohanaeze Ndigbo, General Assembly Worldwide, also an Ambassador of Peace to the United Nations. Would I also like to appreciate your contribution to today's discussion. Paul Andrew Gwaza, Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution. Many thanks to you for your incisive contribution to this topic. And indeed, we'd like to say God bless Nigeria. And we'd like to appreciate you also for staying with us and watching today's conversation on restoring peace in the Southeast. I am Claire Adelabu Abdurrazak. Join us again tomorrow, Thursday, for another edition.
Kingsley, your son, take care of yourselves.